My name is Sarah. I live in Cleveland, although for the last couple of years. I have been thinking more and more about living somewhere like Burlington. It is quiet there, almost like in Switzerland, but cozy in an American way. I am 31. I am a teacher at a college. My life is lists, plans, and control. I am not one to leave things to chance. If it is a date, the dress is chosen the day before. Perfume is waiting by the door. Even my lipstick is tested for longevity a couple of hours before going out, especially if it is a date with Mike. Mike is the opposite of everything I am. Messy, carefree, with a perpetually dead phone and a backpack that contains nothing but keys and a pack of gum. And yet he is unbearably charming. He seems to live in a beer commercial, in jeans that are 100 years old and a shirt that was fashionable in the early 2000s. He manages to look as if everything in life is going according to plan. Only it is not a plan, it is universal chaos, and he just winks at it. That Sunday, everything was thought out. We were walking along the Lake Erie shore, the sky without a single cloud. I was wearing a light linen dress, with open shoulders and a thin braid at the waist. My hair was gathered in a loose bun. A heart-shaped pendant hung on my neck. A gift from Mike, of course, with a funny engraving. Do not get lost. I am nearby. He arrived, as always, with easily tousled hair, a grin from ear to ear, a bottle of lemonade in his hand, and a suggestion to go not where we planned, where you intended, but where our feet take us. I sighed, as always, took a step back to object, and as always, took a step after him. We turned into the old park, the one with the peeling benches and ancient linden trees. Mike stopped abruptly and, pointing with his chin, said, "Look at that bench, shall we sit?" The plywood had darkened with time, one board was cracked, the paint was peeling, and a threatening splinter stuck out from the side. I grimaced. "Mike, are you serious? It is a wreck. I am wearing a dress." "Exactly. That is the whole point, to test it." He chuckled and sat down, pulling me by the hand. I gave in, as usual. I sat down carefully, trying not to let anything important touch the board. His arm wrapped around my shoulders. The scent of summer perfume. Notes of vanilla and mint mixed with the aroma of old wood and fresh grass. "You are tense, as if you are at an exam," he remarked, looking at my face. "I just do not like splinters and unpredictability." We were silent. I listened to children laughing somewhere in the distance, to the buzzing of bumblebees. He stroked my shoulder with his finger, little by little, barely touching. But I felt it all over my body. I knew he was doing it on purpose. He knew exactly how such light touches affected me. And he knew I could not resist. "Do you think I am too fixated on control?" I suddenly asked. "I think you are wonderful. But sometimes I want to untie your shoes right in the middle of the street and see what you will do." "A fetish like that?" I smirked. "Maybe I just like seeing you lose your footing." I snorted but smiled. He knew how to play. We were different, but that is exactly what hooked me. Me with my bracelet, with reminders for every hour. Him with a hole in his knee and an eternal dream of hitchhiking to Nashville. And then I heard a crack. A sharp, unpleasant sound. "Oh, I think it is the dress." He got up immediately. I tried to stand up and felt something pulling from behind. I turned around and realized the hem had caught on that very splinter. Mike tried to free the fabric. "Careful, it is thin fabric." "Not like that." He froze, looked at me, and carefully began to move the fabric with his fingers. "Do it carefully, even too carefully." His face was right by my hip, and I felt my breath catch. He seemed to be deliberately taking his time. "I am holding on to the bench, Mike." "Almost." "There." And, of course, it happened. "They're okay. You tore it." And he blinked. "Well, just a little." I jumped up. "You owe me a new dress. It is the spring-summer collection, by the way. I will get you the same one. Or better yet, one without a back." "More air," he said, looking at me. So much that I wanted to both laugh and strangle him simultaneously. We went home. He held my hand. I walked with the hem covered by his jacket. People stared, but suddenly I did not care. After Mike saved my dress through local destruction, we walked in silence to his apartment. Silently, because I was trying not to burst from anger and laughter. It was one of those moments when you do not know whether to be angry or thank fate. That you can be so yourself with someone. He took the jacket off my shoulders and hung it on a hook in the hallway. I was left in the tight dress with a small but noticeable hole in the hem. How utterly you have been pushed out of your comfort zone. Sit down, I will find something to sew it with, he said, opening a drawer with threads and buttons. Imagine a man who does not remember when his own birthday is has a drawer with threads. Magic. I sat on the edge of the sofa. Back straight, legs crossed, gaze stern, but inside me something else was bubbling. I felt the inner tension melting away, as if all of this, the absurdity, the romance, even the tear in the dress, was part of some necessary transformation. He returned with a needle in his teeth and an orange thread in his hand. Seriously? Orange? Well, to be bright. He raised his hands. Just kidding, I found white thread. While he sat at my feet, trying to carefully sew the fabric, I looked down at him. He was focused. His tongue was slightly sticking out of the corner of his mouth, like a child assembling a complex construction set. I laughed. You are probably the most ridiculous tailor in the world. Incredibly charming, especially with a needle behind his ear. He finished, carefully smoothed the fabric with his palm. His fingers lingered a moment longer than necessary and slid along the inside of my thigh. Accidentally or not, I was not sure. My body reacted faster than my mind. I held my breath. Thank you, I whispered. He looked into my eyes. We were centimeters apart. The room was quiet. Even the clock seemed to have stopped ticking. I felt his breath. His hand lay on my knee, then slid up a little, touching the skin not covered by the dress. To that very line where the forbidden begins but is still allowed. Can I? He began. Yes, I interrupted, but no foolishness and no splinters. He laughed, and it diffused the atmosphere. We just hugged. His arms held me tight but gently, as if I were fragile porcelain. I buried my face in his neck. It smelled of coffee, sun, and something homely. You probably think I am completely lost. No, you are just not on my list. But maybe that is the whole point. He looked at me with that half-smile of his and whispered, or maybe you are just tired of being within the lines? That night, we did not cross the line, but we came right up to it. I stayed at his place. He gave me his t-shirt to big, with the inscription Cleveland is the capital. I looked like a teenager who had run away on a date. We lay back to back and listened to the rain start on the roof. Mike suddenly whispered, you know, on the bench, I chose it on purpose. Why? Because nothing there is perfect, just like us. I did not know what to answer. I just turned to him and took his hand. I woke up early, the sun filtering through the blinds, cutting stripes of light and shadow across my eyes. I lay in his bed, covered with a light blanket, in his t-shirt that smelled of him. A little bit of shower gel, a little bit of cigarettes, a little bit of freedom. Mike was sleeping beside me, sprawled out as if the bed was too small. One elbow was hovering over my shoulder, the other somewhere on my waist. He was snoring. I looked at his face, unshaven, with slight shadows under his eyes, with that expression of almost childlike peace. And suddenly I realized I felt comfortable. Not because everything was perfect, but because here I could be imperfect, I could be myself. Mike stirred, turned on his side, hugged me tighter, pulled me close. I did not resist. His hand rested on my hip, his fingers pressing slightly. I did not pull away, although before I definitely would have. Too early, too close, too wrong. But at that moment, everything felt right. Good morning, he whispered without opening his eyes. Good morning. You are so real when you just wake up. And you, well, you are like a bulldozer. A gentle bulldozer. He chuckled and started tracing his finger along my leg. Slowly, as if writing invisible words. I bit my lip. It was innocent, yet almost tormentingly pleasant. The little rascal. He knew what he was doing, and I let him. I jumped up first. I needed to breathe. I quickly freshened up in the bathroom, washed my face, brushed my hair, put my clothes back on. The dress still had a scar on the back, like a reminder of yesterday. By then, Mike was already frying eggs on the stove barefoot, in shorts and no t-shirt. The kitchen smelled of fried onions and black coffee. You will not believe it, he said, but I can cook sometimes, depending on my mood. I do not doubt it, I answered, sitting at the table. Just please do not add honey to the omelette like last time. He laughed, and then my phone rang. Mom. I glanced at the screen, then at him. Everything okay? He asked. Yes, it is just that Mom does not know where I am. I did not spend the night at home. That rarely happens. Tell her you were at a field biology lecture. Very funny. I went into the hallway and answered. The conversation lasted no more than a minute, but it brought me back to reality. Back to where the schedule, control, responsibilities, and reputation lived. When I returned, Mike was already setting the table. Simple plates, eggs, tomatoes, to slices of toasted bread. "Let us make a deal," he said. "You will not run away as if all of this was a mistake. I do not intend to interfere with your life. I just want to be in it." I froze for a second. "I am not running. It is just that everything in my life has to be in its place." He came over and took my hand. "And what if I am like a spoon that does not match the set, but is comfortable?" I laughed, and at that moment, someone knocked on the door, sharply and loudly. Mike frowned. "Who is it?" He opened the door. On the threshold stood a woman, young, pretty, with short hair and a gaze that was attentive. Too calm. "Oh, you are not alone," she said, shifting her gaze to me. "Hi, my name is Jessica." His ex. I felt everything inside me freeze. "I forgot something here. Hope you do not mind if I come in." Jessica entered the room like she owned the place, threw a glance at my torn hem, at the 2 coffee cups, at our closeness, and smiled. "I will just get my earrings, you to carry on." I do not remember the last time I felt like this, as if the air in the room had thickened, as if every movement had become dangerous, as if I were an uninvited guest on my own territory. Jessica moved confidently. She wore a tight black turtleneck, tight light jeans, pointy-toed boots. There was almost no makeup, but her eyes were lined and her gaze cut like a scalpel. "Do not worry, I will not be long," she threw out, not taking her eyes off me. "The earrings are on the shelf in the bathroom." Mike stood there bewildered. It was that moment when a man does not know what to do first. Apologize, introduce, explain, or disappear. I looked at him, waiting for some gesture, but he was silent. And Jessica was already back with a small box in her hand and a look that held an unspoken victory. "Have a nice day," she said, heading for the door, but right before it, she turned around. "And you, Mike, you are still the same. Warm, cozy, but messy, I hope. At least now you do not confuse whose toothbrush is whose." She left as if she had not closed the door, but fired a shot. I stood there, pressing my palms to the table. My heart was pounding as if I had been running. Silence. A long, long silence. "I am sorry," he finally uttered. I did not know she would. "Do you have many exes who drop by without calling?" "No, she's different. We were together for almost 3 years." I was silent, while inside everything was coiling into a tight knot. Jealousy, fear, the feeling of being put in an awkward position. And worst of all, the feeling that I'd already been through this scenario. And this discomfort was the anxious residue after the unforeseen. "Sarah." He came over, put his hands on my shoulders, but I pulled away. "I have to go." "Please, not like this. It was just an accident. And if I had not been here, would she have stayed for tea?" He did not answer. And that was the answer. I grabbed my bag, pulled on my coat, and headed for the door. He followed me with his eyes, not knowing how to stop me. As I walked down the street, the wind hit my face. The dress fluttered, stray hairs escaped from the clip. I walked quickly, almost ran, but not away from him, from myself. From the one who had allowed herself to relax, to trust, to believe that things could be easy. I turned into a small square, the one near the music school. It smelled of wet leaves and something bitter. I sat on a bench, took out my phone, opened my notes, and wrote, "Do not forget. Nothing happens for no reason." I sat for a long time until my fingers grew cold, and then suddenly received a message. "Sarah." I was an idiot, but not because she came, but because I froze when you were right there. Give me a chance to explain. Not with words, with action. I did not reply. I deleted the message, but the memory of it remained. Like a mark from a ring on your finger. You have taken it off, but the skin still remembers. And so a week passed. I did not reply to messages, did not answer calls. Mike called at different times, morning, evening, in the middle of the night. Sometimes he would just let the call drop, leaving a voicemail. I listened to one of them 3 times. There was only the wind and his voice, quiet, strained. "I do not want us to disappear like this. Not you, not us. Do not disappear." Day after day, I lived as before, by the schedule. Breakfast at 7:45 in the morning, classes at 9 in the morning. Lunch at 1 in the afternoon. Everything under control. Even feelings, especially feelings. Everything was going smoothly until Friday morning when my colleague Amy called me. She lives near that same park where I tore my dress. Sarah, hi. Listen, you know that Mike, the artist who does volunteer projects? Yes, I know him. Well, you better come to the square. He did something strange there. But honestly, it is something you need to see. I went without confidence, without explanation. I just went. The square was quiet, as always, and just as peeling. But now, by that very bench where it all began, stood an installation. It was an old wooden shield, cut in the shape of a heart, covered with fabric. The fabric from my torn dress. In the center was sewn a white inscription in large letters. Imperfection is our style. And on the sides were photographs. Of me, of him, of us laughing, lying in the grass, reflected in a puddle with coffee cups. A plaque was attached to the installation. Work inspired by a meeting that taught acceptance. Even torn, if it comes from the heart, can be the most precious thing. I stood before this strange confession, feeling everything inside me break apart. And then I sensed him. He was behind me. I did not turn around, just listened to his breathing. I know this is crazy, he said. But you were right. I always lived like the wind and you like a compass. But what if we do not hinder each other, but balance each other? I turned around. He stood with his hands down, without his usual self-confidence. He was wearing a new shirt, white ironed. I had never seen him like this. Did you do all this? Yes. I did it myself. I thought if you would not hear me, maybe at least you would see. I stepped closer, touched the fabric with my fingers. Its edges were neatly hemmed with love. I remembered him whispering to me that there was charm in imperfection. And damn it, I believed it. I do not want to fix everything anymore. Sometimes a hole in a dress is the beginning of a new story. He reached out his hand. I placed mine in his. Slowly, deliberately. Just one condition, I said. If you mess something up again, you pay not only for the dress but also for the manicure. He laughed. It was real. It was easy. We left the square together. He held my hand as if afraid to let go. And for the first time in a long time, I did not care if anyone saw us. We were real, not perfect, but ours. And 2 days later, an unsigned email arrived in my inbox. Just an attachment. A photograph of that same bench. Someone had set fire to the corner of the composition. All that was left of the heart was a charred edge. And the fabric with the inscription had been cut with a knife. There were no witnesses. I looked at the image for a long time, and then I replied to Mike with one sentence. It seems we have a new chapter.